If you've been growing a garden for any time at all, then you've likely already had to deal with crop loss or severe damage done to your garden due to varmints. Well, that's exactly what happened to us this year, and that's why I'm making this video. Today's video, we're going to talk about some of the things we've been having to deal with, as well as what we've got in place and what we're going to improve in the future. So if you're interested in learning about varmints and seeing what we've done, stick around and we'll talk about it. Hello backyard vegetable gardeners, welcome to the Backyard Vegetable Gardening Channel. Today's August the 7th, 2024, and I sure hope you're having a great day. Well guys, it don't matter where you live, whether it's out in the country or in the city, there's no shortage of varmints. I live in a small city, population just a little over 10,000, and we've got our share of varmints. The most common types I can think of are groundhogs and rabbits, squirrels and the rodent varieties, skunks, raccoons, deer, and even bear, depending on where you live. You may even have moose or elk. Where I live, the most common garden pest is the groundhog. We have an extreme population of groundhogs, but this year they seem to have left my garden alone. We had to deal with a few of them, not very many. In the early stages of the garden, early spring, we was dealing with the bunnies. And they didn't do too much damage to the garden. They mainly used it to hide their nest in. No big deal. They did get a few of the lettuce plants. They did nip the tips off some of the carrots as they were sprouting, but we got them dealt with really fast, really effectively. Not a problem. What I thought was going to be our biggest problem was the squirrels. The squirrels were digging up everything. They got into the carrot bed and did a lot of damage early on. Got them stopped by putting some fence material over it. But then they moved into the strawberry boxes, and boy, they were doing some damage. It seemed like every time I'd put a new transplant, they were digging them up. But the thing that got me the worst was when we were getting our dill plants established. They just kept digging up those dill plants, and I don't think I lost but maybe one, but boy, they sure stunted them good enough that by the time it got warm, we hadn't got a harvest, them things went to bolt, and so we didn't get hardly any dill this year. But that's the way it goes, and unfortunately, that wasn't the end of the story. The biggest problem that we had this year concerning varmints just so happened to be a little young deer. Now, we've had deer in the past. They've never done any damage to the garden. We've always been able to hinder them. This year, that wasn't the case. Man alive, did that one deer destroy the garden. Now, the neighbors said they spotted a few, but as far as our footage goes, the security footage that we've captured, I've only been able to identify one deer, and it appears to be the same deer, comes along. Boy, absolutely destroyed the garden. It probably ate 200 tomatoes, absolutely destroyed the celery plants, and thankfully, he hasn't been back in quite a while. So today, guys, we're going to walk you through the garden, show you what has happened, as well as discuss some of the things that you ought to be doing in your garden, as well as some of the things that we're going to be doing in the future. So hang around, we'll get up, we'll take a walk out in the garden. Here we are right outside the main garden. You can see, totally unprotected. In between the building and the fenced-in garden, we've got these strawberry boxes, a few citrus plants, and some grapevines. We'll come over here and look at these strawberry plants, and as you can see, they're coming back. Boy, there was a lot of damage. That deer come through here and he had him a smorgasbord of strawberries, and really disturbed me because this bed right here, we're trying to propagate these Ozark beauties and fill this entire bed. He come through here and he didn't do too much damage to the all-star variety, but boy, when he got down to these quinolts, he surely did a number on them. And it made me a little sad, a little disappointed, because as you can see, this is an everbearing variety and they were ready to produce. Thankfully, there's some new blooms on it. We'll get a few, but we won't get very many. Might get a few today for lunch, don't know. And he didn't mess with the shore crop variety. Can't explain that, don't know why he did it, but he left them, so we're thankful for that. But if you can come in here and look, now I know the weeds have grown up, I kind of just left it alone, this entire bed was full of celery, and boy did he gnaw them to the ground. Was very disappointed. If you grow celery, you know that when you grow them from seed, it can be challenging, and we've got it down to where we can germinate the seed. We got them out here in time and fertilized them, was waiting for them to produce big stalks, and about time we was ready to harvest, he come out here and found them. Within a matter of a couple days, that celery was nothing but what you see there, just nubs. And then he moved over here into the alpine strawberry box and totally decimated those plants, and you can tell they're about done for the year anyway. Starting to dry up a little bit, but boy, I didn't think they was going to come back. He took them, boy, he severely damaged them things, but thankfully they're going to be fine for next year. We'll refresh that bed for the babies, separate them a little bit out. It's time for that, but did a lot of damage. So if you walk with me, as you can see here, this is our side yard, and that deer would come up right beside those hedges, and he'd go up by this tree, and right here's the point he'd get in. And most of the time we could put a barricade up here, something to block him in, and that didn't work this year. He just jumped over everything we put, and he ventured all the way through every part of the garden. So we'll walk in the garden and we'll show you some of the damage he did in there, and then we'll start talking about the things that we've done previously, things we're going to continue to do, and things we're going to do better next year. So now we're in the main garden, you can see this bed. Cucumbers. The one closest to us are the Space Master variety. Nope, excuse me, the one closest to us are the pickle bush variety, and the one furthest away are the Space Master. And you can tell, boy, he did a number on these plants. I mean, he just nipped them all off. But we're thankful. As you can see, there's plenty of blooms, and there are plenty of pickles still coming. We're thankful for that. It's the first year we grew this variety, and I do believe we're going to be growing more of it. That seemed to be a very vigorous plant to be a bush variety, and it was a good producer. And the same goes for this Space Master plant here. As you can tell, it's bounced back really well, but you can see the damage that he's done. There's not a whole lot that we can do or say, but we're thankful. We've come out here a few days this week, yesterday in particular, and we harvested most of the pickles. So there's not many more on there, but the first thing that we noticed before we knew it was a deer was this little bean patch that we planted for the babies. We weren't growing these to can them or anything like that. We just did them because one of the babies loves beans, and we grew this nice variety here called the Royal Burgundy. And I'm trying to work this gimbal, guys. I'm not really good at this. Really, it's the first time I've used it by hand. Most of the time I use it on a tripod that's got this AI tracker. It tracks me around so I don't have to have somebody out here helping me film. But boy, he took all of these down to a nub, and they started coming back. And by the time we could get back out here due to the weather, we tried to weave them, and that didn't go good. So you can see on this back row here, we just let them grow, and I can't believe it that they've actually produced what they've produced. But he come back again, as you can see on these, and he got them again. But like I said, we grew them for the babies. The babies were a little disappointed, but nothing too severe. So we'll walk back here and I can show you. They don't like peppers apparently, because he has not touched not a single one of the peppers. And we're very, very thankful for that. Come through here, show you some of these nice varieties in case you're not familiar with them. Some of these nice, pretty yellow ones. These are called Lemon Dreams. They are quite wonderful. We enjoy growing them every year. Very, very sweet peppers. Very good producers. Very thankful for that. If we get you around in here and show you some of these Nice tangerine dreams. Quite lovely. Very sweet, very delicious. Also a good producer. Very thankful that he left those alone. Those are some of my favorite peppers. We got some jalapenos, some carnita rosas, which was a first for us. Going to grow some more of them next year. Very, very delicious. We've done harvesting them all. We've got a few little ones. It's blooming again. Had good luck with the jalapenos this year, both the early jalapenos as well as the Megatrons. Finally starting to harvest some of these sweet banana peppers here. That's always a good thing, like the sweet banana peppers. Done harvested the most of them, but we're starting to see some more that are ripening. Same deal for the orange sun bell peppers. And again, another favorite is these wonderful cherry peppers. They're called red cherry peppers. They are a hot pepper, but what makes them so delightful is that they have a sweet taste first and then the heat comes. Very, very delicious. We've got some of the California Wonder bell peppers. They're doing good. Some more pimentos. But we'll come around here and I'll show you my disappointment in the pepper bed. It's not the plant's fault. We bought this variety this year on a whim, and they're called Sweet Heat. These little things have not done too good. Now you can see from the size, they're very small plants, but they appear to be a good producing variety. And what happened was we bought them late in the planting season from a nursery, and they were very healthy. We got them out here, put them in the ground. But what I think had happened is these pimento plants grew so tall, they shaded them out. And it don't matter how much fertilizer, how much water I give them, they're just not gonna do any better. So hopefully we'll get to try them soon. We've got a few that's starting to ripen. But we'll walk down here and I'll show you the biggest disappointment that deer caused us. It's right here in the tomato bed. So you can see our tomato bed here. And if you follow the channel, you watched us when we planted them. But that rebar that you see is about 7.5 feet off the ground. So we've got plants about 9 foot tall. Still producing, thankfully. But boy, oh boy, did that guy do us a number. Now it's going to be very challenging for me to get good shots with this gimbal because I'm not really familiar with how to operate it well. But I'm going to try to give you some clear shots of just what that thing did to our garden. Boy, he just come through here and he ate probably 200, maybe 250 tomatoes. He wasn't very prejudiced either. He went through and he ate every variety that he could get. And as you can see here, he did a good deal of damage to some of the plants. And we are thankful we're getting a few more of the Romas and the San Marzanos. But guys, I'm telling you now, that deer did us a number. Can't even describe to you how much damage that he did. We actually had to go to the produce stand and buy a couple bushels of tomatoes to can so we could make our salsa that we always like to make every year. But things could be worse. And I'll just go ahead and tell you one of the most discouraging things about all of this is our goal, well, my goal is to grow most all of our produce from now on and not have to buy it from the grocery store or the produce stand. And this year would have been the closest we've ever been to achieving that. Now don't get me wrong, we would not been able to grow all of our produce entirely. We'd still had to bought some, but we was hoping that using the model that we're using that we could produce at least 40 or 50, maybe 60% by growing 2 crops. And that deer has made sure that's not gonna happen. We'll go back to where we started. You can see there's a chain link fence that runs all the way down the property. We've got it on 3 sides but the front we don't have a fence. And that's primarily due to my wife's objection. She does not want one there. So in order to keep things copacetic here on the homestead, we don't have the property fully fenced in. One of the best things you can do to keep garden pests out is dogs and cats. And guys, I apologize, it seems like the cicadas want to join us today. But one of the most basic methods that any gardener can do to defend against these varmints is put up a little fence. And you can see here, this is just little 2x2 PVC mesh netting, and we've used it for several seasons. It's done a really, really good job. It hasn't kept out everything, but it's done a good job. But one of the things that this netting is prone to is tears. And I'll try to get you in here, and you can see right in here, there's a tear. And there's a few like that all around the perimeter, and we have to keep up with it, and that's really what that bucket's there for. But we'll walk over here to another spot. We had already planned on redoing all the fencing, so that's what we did. We went out and bought us a couple rolls of this 2x3 welded wire fence, and we were going to swap out that PVC fence for that material. And we've since discovered a new product, and that's what we're going to talk about in this next segment about dealing with varmints. Now, as you can see here, along with the fencing, we've got these white rags, and we've got them put all over the garden. And that was a method recommended to us by some of our family, as well as a follower on Facebook. And the reason for the rags is you soak them in ammonia, and it's supposed to be a strong urine-like smell. Smells like predator's urine, and it deters the deer. Well, as effective as that method may be, it's not very effective when you have a week and a half of rain and it keeps washing off the ammonia. So we tried that. We also tried to put it on a few of these poles, and we staked them all through the yard, and that didn't seem to matter either. Tried to hang them everywhere, but as long as there's rain, it's going to wash that smell away, and you've got to keep replacing them. So what we're going to wind up doing is we're going to buy some electric poultry netting. We didn't even know that was a thing until we discovered a few weeks ago on another YouTube channel, and I can't remember the name of that channel. They're pretty local to me. They're about 45 minutes down the road. We will link to that video in the description if I can remember. But what we're going to do is replace that PVC netting with some of that electric poultry netting, and we're going to step in about 2 feet with some 8-foot T-posts and run a single strand of wire across the top of it. And it can be electrified as well later. We're not going to electrify it at first, but from everything that I read, the deer will realize that the fence is hot. They'll try to avoid it. And if they try to hop it, they'll see that other strand of wire, and that will deter them because they won't want to jump over it. We're going to hope that works. From everything that I've heard and read, that is an effective method. So we'll try to have a video sooner or later about that. We still got to order it, hopefully do that today or tomorrow. But no matter how good your fencing is, and there's many types of fencing. You can do this PVC netting, the wire netting. You can use a privacy fence type deal, 6 foot high, boards real close together. Deers won't jump over what they can't see beyond. So that would be good, be very expensive. You can do the electric netting, but it really doesn't matter. Sooner or later, you're gonna have varmints that learn how to get in there. Now, I can't electrify all 4 sides of that new fence because of that steel chain link fence that's installed between mine and my neighbor's property. I would sure hate for that sweet person to touch that fence, or any of my children or grandchildren, and find out the hard way that it had become electrified. So I strongly suggest that you invest in some of these traps. Now we've got some 2 sizes. That was a little one. This was a larger one. And let's see if I can pull one up here. And we've got a few of these things, and they're very economical. You get them at Tractor Supply, you get them at Rural King. I've even seen them sold at Walmart. We bought these in the 2-pack. They come with a large unit and a smaller unit. They all work the same. They're very easy to operate. To open them, lift up the little locking mechanism, push in the spring mechanism, and there's a little hook right here. Just hook it, and you put your bait in there. As far as bait goes, we'll start with what we're familiar with. The groundhogs. The easiest way to trap a groundhog is with fresh cantaloupe. I don't know what it is about it. It's the best bait that we've ever used. It's really the only bait we use when we can get it, because it works very, very well. I can't tell you how many people have called me up about their groundhog problem, and I tell them to use cantaloupe, and they resisted, and they tried everything else that they had, and then they call me back and say, man, I can't believe that cantaloupe works so good. So if groundhogs, you want to use cantaloupe. Now if it's raccoons or skunks or anything like that, you're going to need a stronger smell. You want something like tuna fish or cat food. That'll work really good. When it comes to the rabbits, you can use really any type of fruit. They like apples. The carrots work good, but you don't want to use that when it's cold, because of the high water content in those items. They will freeze, and they won't smell them, they won't eat them. So you can use just some alfalfa, even some alfalfa hay like you would feed them. For squirrels, any type of nut, peanut butter, sunflower seeds, that'll work. But most of the time, you're not going to trap a squirrel. We've trapped a few by accident, but the best thing you can do for squirrels is just give them a place to eat somewhere away from your garden. If you've got bird feeders, you know what I'm talking about. But as far as these traps go, they're very, very easy to understand. Once we have our trap open, we're going to insert our bait. And what we like to do in these larger traps is cut a paper plate in half. I'm going to slide the cage over for you, and you can see that there's this little flap in here. I hope you can. There you go. That's the trigger mechanism. Now it's not set yet, so it's not going to cause a reaction, but you want to make sure that that plate or any of your bait is not under this trigger. You're going to want to make sure that it's away from it or on top of it at the very least. Just be careful putting on top of it, because the more weight you put on it, the easier it is to go off by accident, whether it's wind or maybe the varmint rustles it on the outside. So we try to put it away from it, and the way you set it is, you take your hook off, and you've got this little lever here. So what you're going to do is you're going to open your trap, and you're going to see that there's a little hook on the end of this lever arm. And what you're going to want to do is you want to take it and rest this notch, rest that notch on that hook, and hopefully I did a good job putting that. I can't see my monitor, folks, but that's really all there is to it. And what happens is when the varmint comes in, and boom, just that quick, and he can't get out because it's secured. And no matter if something tries to help it on the outside, it's not going to happen. So we highly recommend that you get some of these traps right here. Now guys, as far as that goes, if you've got any questions, a particular varmint that you're trying to deal with, leave a comment. Be glad to help you if I can. And I guess that'll do it for this video, guys. Try to make you a new video here in a week or so when we get that new netting in. If we got time, get it installed. If you've enjoyed this video or you've learned something, I sure would appreciate it if you hit that like button, folks. And if you like gardening and garden related content, I hope you'd subscribe. If you know anybody that's interested in this kind of stuff, please share it with them on other social media. Guys, it's been my pleasure. I sure enjoyed being with you. Until we see you on the next one, I hope you're having a great day.